In today's news, the government has confirmed that lockdown is set to continue indefinitely. So the big news seems to be that lockdown is something we're all going to have to start getting used to. It's not going to be over very quickly. I think the real challenge for everybody, particularly us, is to make a sense of new normality. The garden has become such an incredibly important focus because I suppose we've just got space and air and nature. Nature does have a wonderful healing element to play in all of this. We eat in the garden, we play in the garden, we spend an enormous amount of time in the garden. We drink a phenomenal amount of gin in the garden. My heart really goes out to everyone who's having to cope confined inside. It must be just appalling. And also anyone who's separated from the rest of their family. We are so lucky. We have got everyone we love with us. I'm not going to say that it's absolutely idyllically perfect the whole time. There are moments when it's a little bit Game of Thrones, particularly in the morning. And our secret is, well, it's our panic rooms. All of us are carving out corners where we can be alone.
I'd like another orange. We are the cheeky guys for charming guys. Because the cheeky guys for charming guys do what they're told.
And then some of us, when it comes to their sanctuaries, are going for a green theme.
I think I probably am gardening for sanity at the moment. It's somewhere that I can come and just have an excuse to get away from everything else I have to do. I have been germinating an awful lot of tomato plants, it's true. It does look as if I'm going into tomato farming. But I am hoping that when lockdown is finished, I might be able to swap them for something a bit more useful. I quite like the idea of throwing tomatoes at all my family at the moment, particularly at the dogs, one or two of the cats, and obviously many, many, many at my husband. It's somewhere that I can come and just have an excuse to get away from everything else I have to do. And hide by the bins, which everybody thinks is terribly funny because I've got the most beautiful garden in the world, but it's so overpopulated by animals and humans.
Job applications to become bin men in our area have radically increased. What's going on in the garden is an absolute revelation to me. I'm normally not here at this time of year. I'm filming my shows in Australia, or then there's the apartment in Asia. So it means that I've not really ever seen how beautiful this garden can look at this time in the spring, and I'm quite moved by it. In fact, I'm so moved by it, I've decided to actually do something about it and draw it, which is weird. I've not drawn nature since I was at college. I've always found nature rather disappointing, up until now. There's one part of the garden that I am obsessed by. It's this wonderful woodland walk. So I'm going to try and translate all that I feel about the garden and all that I feel about this little corner of the garden at this time of year into a pattern. I work in a very, very traditional way. It's all about the drawing as far as I'm concerned. Luckily, I have the botanical genius that is grandson Albion on hand to identify all the flowers, provided they're bluebells.
This is the bluebell.
Lovely. Go and pick me a tulip. In the village, they call it our nut walk because of the hazelnuts that grow on either side. And when I want a moment alone, like most British men, I too have a shed, although I see it more as a boudoir. I suppose it's a bit of a homage to William Morris, actually. He lived in the Cotswolds, not far from here. Actually, he lived in a house very similar to this one. He's always been one of my real design heroes. I love the way that his patterns feel so kind of muscular. It really feels as if the nature he's drawing has a strength to it, has a real juiciness to it. And I want to try and capture some of that powerful movement in the way that this pattern evolves. Once I'm happy with the drawing and I feel that the whole thing is balanced properly, that the repeat works well, We put it onto the computer, and son-in-law Dan starts playing around with it. We can change various elements. Then the really important work of colouring in starts. I used to colour it all in by hand, but it's very, very labour intensive and quite inflexible. With a huge amount of design I have to generate, with all of those patterns that come from my pen, it's so much easier to be able to change the colour, the texture, the way that the whole thing works in the computer at this stage. But everything I do starts as a drawing. And look, I'm getting quite passionate about Chez Moi these days. It's been our sanctuary after all. So I love the idea of some new sofas in Nut Walk. But what will the boss think?